embarks on its America First foreign policy, a lot of non-Americans are feeling, well, kind of unwelcome. In fact, dozens of countries have already issued travel advisories to their citizens amid the crackdown on immigrants here in the United States. And some, such as Canada, are just saying, we don't want any part of the United States as, well, President Trump.
I just moved to Toronto, Canada, from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Travel to the U.S. right now. Do you feel like your friends and family feel comfortable traveling there?
No. Nobody I know back in England or here would go to the U.S. at the moment.
There were no earthquakes, floods, or pandemics this time. Yet, something strange was happening. It felt like a silent tsunami had swept away millions of travelers, especially Canadians who usually head to the United States. Tourism in America had never collapsed so quietly before. In New York, hotels that were always packed with guests were now wide open but nearly empty. Planes were still flying to dozens of destinations, but many of the seats remained vacant. In Los Angeles, famous shopping streets looked deserted, with nothing but the wind passing through them. Why? Because travelers around the world no longer see the United States as their top choice. From Canada to Japan, from Germany to Brazil, millions of tourists have simply crossed America off their vacation lists. For the U.S., this is far from normal. In fact, experts say international visitors could drop by as much as 40% just this year. That's a serious hit to an industry worth almost $900 billion. Yes, you heard that right, $900 billion. If the rumors making the rounds turn out to be true, the outlook could be even worse. And before we continue, don't forget to like this video so more people can find it. Now, the issue here is not just about money. It's about something much deeper, a loss of trust, political disputes, visa problems, and a growing image of the U.S. as an unwelcoming place. The ongoing tensions between President Trump and countries like Canada have played a huge role in changing how people see America as a travel destination. As I explained in my earlier video, Trump's threats of heavy tariffs on Canada were already pushing things in this direction. All these moves together became the silent architects of this major collapse. The question now is, how long will it last? The U.S. still believes it can bounce back, but the reality is different. America's tourism industry is quietly shutting down like a giant that's lost its heartbeat. This is no ordinary crisis. It could very well damage the country's global image for years to come. Make sure to stay with me until the end of this video, because we'll soon reveal which U.S. cities are being hit the hardest and the real reasons behind this downfall. Let's begin with Canada. For decades, Canada has been America's closest neighbor and strongest partner. But by 2025, the relationship had soured. The Trump administration slapped a 25% tariff on Canadian goods, and even more tariffs are expected soon. Naturally, Canadian tourists didn't take this lightly. The government in Ottawa acted quickly and urged citizens not to spend their holidays in the United States. This wasn't a casual suggestion, it was a strong, direct warning. The impact was immediate. By the summer of 2025, the number of Canadian visitors to the U.S. had dropped by nearly 40%. Such a steep and sudden drop is something the tourism sector has rarely seen before. The main reason is clear: many Canadians now feel that vacationing in America goes against their national pride. In the past, when relations were smooth, Canadians traveled south, spent freely in hotels, restaurants, and malls, and boosted the U.S. economy. But once the message from their government came, "Don't go," people listened. Reservations were cancelled, travel plans were scrapped, and the effect spread beyond Canada. Soon, tourists from the Netherlands, Germany, China, and even the United Kingdom started choosing other destinations instead of the U.S. According to official numbers, international arrivals to America in 2025 are set to fall by about 10%. That alone means a direct revenue loss of nearly $20 billion. And the results are visible everywhere. Hotels that were once booked solid are sitting half empty. Restaurants are struggling to fill tables. Airports are quieter than ever. The money that should be flowing into the U.S. is instead going to Europe, Asia, and Latin America. A huge share of America's tourism earnings has simply disappeared. So far, the Trump administration hasn't taken any serious action to reverse the decline. Only a handful of tourism agencies, mostly those close to the government, are trying to lure visitors back with slogans like, "America misses you." But let's look at the numbers for a clearer picture. Back in 2019, right before the pandemic, the US earned more than $300 billion from foreign tourists alone. Yes, that's just from travelers spending. But once COVID-19 hit, that number collapsed, and it hasn't recovered since. As the world slowly returned to normal, Europe, Asia, and even Latin America saw their tourism industries bounce back. But America was left behind. Even at the end of July, the US looked empty. Normally, this time of year, places like Universal Studios and Disneyland are jam-packed with visitors. You'd usually struggle to even move through the crowds. But now, only a few families here and there. What's happening to America? Why has international travel spending dropped from $185 billion to under $168 billion? That's a loss of $17 billion in just a single year. And the strange part is, it's not because people don't want to travel. In fact, tourism is booming worldwide. Flights are fully booked, hotels are busy, and cities are crowded with travelers. But instead of heading to America, tourists are filling planes to Europe and Dubai. The problem isn't about expensive tickets or high hotel costs. The problem is deeper. People simply don't trust America the way they used to. In recent years, the White House has taken increasingly aggressive steps, threatening trade partners and imposing high tariffs even on allies. These moves have badly hurt America's reputation around the world. And here's something important to remember: governments may impose sanctions or embargoes, but ordinary people often respond in their own quiet way. They don't march on the streets. Instead, they change their travel plans, cancel trips, and book flights elsewhere. That's exactly what's happening now. This silent protest isn't visible in demonstrations, but it's hitting the US economy like a heavy blow. For anyone paying close attention, the signs are crystal clear. In just the past few weeks, sales of airline tickets to the US have dropped sharply. Canadian products are disappearing from store shelves. Hotel occupancy rates are falling. And perhaps most importantly, tourist dollars are being spent in other countries instead. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. It really helps the channel. Now, the problem is growing beyond Canada. It's spreading wider than anyone first expected. America's rivals are also stepping in. Take China, for example. The Chinese government has quietly but firmly advised its citizens to reconsider travel to the United States. The reasons are obvious: President Trump's heavy tariffs on China and his generally hostile stance. But here's the striking part: Chinese tourists have been some of the most valuable to the US economy for years. They've poured millions of dollars into luxury hotels, fine dining, exclusive shopping, and private tours designed especially for them. But now, hotel lobbies once filled with Chinese visitors are silent, and restaurant tables sit empty. Sometimes, people in America underestimate China. But when you remember its population of 1.4 billion, the scale of this shift becomes clear. And the issue isn't limited to China or Canada. Each year, millions of Europeans, especially from Germany, France, and the Netherlands, travel across the US. But today, more and more flights from Europe to America are going half empty. It may not make the same headlines as Canada or China, but the numbers prove Europe is quietly pulling back too. Trump's tariffs on steel and aluminum created a chill in Brussels. Some reports even suggest that Washington has slashed its tourism promotion budgets, tightened visa procedures, and reduced the number of diplomatic visits from Europe. But the biggest evidence is right in the booking data. While fewer Europeans are traveling to the US, more Americans are now spending their vacations in Europe instead. This isn't only about money. It shows how trust and perception of America are shifting internationally. For decades, America marketed itself as the land of freedom. Today, many see it as the land of uncertainty. Trade wars are no longer just affecting steel or aluminum, they're even shaping where people take their luggage. Stay tuned, because what I'm about to share may shock you. The World Travel and Tourism Council now estimates that the US could lose as much as $15 billion in international tourism revenue in just this 1 year. And that money won't be spent in Las Vegas, Times Square, or at the Brooklyn Bridge. Instead, it's being redirected to other destinations. For example, Hotel reservations in Bar Harbor, Maine, have dropped by more than 70%. For small, family-run businesses there, this is a nightmare. Even Cape Cod, Massachusetts, a region long dependent on foreign visitors, has lost 15% of its international tourists. These aren't just cold statistics. Behind them are struggling shop owners and local families fighting to survive. The most dramatic collapse, however, is in Las Vegas. A city once buzzing with international tourists spending fortunes is now experiencing empty casinos and canceled VIP tours from Europe and Asia. Tour guides are out of work. Casinos have lost their biggest players. And this isn't just about the money, it's also about cultural ties breaking down, jobs disappearing, and America's image taking yet another hit. Meanwhile, governments in Canada, China, Europe, and Latin America are all encouraging their citizens to look elsewhere for their travels. And here lies America's biggest mistake, forgetting that tourists should always be treated as welcome guests, not as threats. That single word, welcome, has disappeared. If this trend continues, the recovery may not take just months, but many years. And the hardest hit won't be the big hotels alone, it will be small towns, family businesses, and everyday Americans who once relied on international visitors. The big question is, how long will this crisis drag on? Tourism experts interviewed on television say even in the most optimistic case, it may take until 2030 for the U.S. to fully recover. That means a long, difficult road ahead. Recovery is still possible, but it would require President Trump to dramatically change his approach and take meaningful steps. Right now, that hope looks very faint. The visa process, for instance, has gone from tough to nearly impossible. Tourists face months of waiting, complicated online applications, strict fingerprinting, and sometimes humiliating questioning at the border. It's no wonder millions are staying away. A Canadian traveler recently shared his experience. At John F. Kennedy Airport, I was held up for hours just because I had a sandwich with salami and cheese in my bag. Ridiculous situations like this are exactly why even close allies are warning their citizens. Belgium and the Netherlands have advised travelers that even with a U.S. visa, there's no guarantee you'll be allowed in. And yes, even Canada, once America's closest friend, is telling its citizens to prepare for long, invasive security checks before boarding flights to the U.S. Think about it. Tourists are willing to take the risk of eating street food in Paris, but when it comes to New York, many decide it's not worth the hassle of being interrogated for hours at JFK Airport. And it's this perception that America is no longer welcoming that is driving tourist dollars away to other countries.